Hi everybody and welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
And today we're on part 2 of our article about Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, of course. One of the most popular Disney characters all around the world.
But?
Except in China.
Except in China because he looks like a politician in China.
He does. Now, we say Disney character, but as we found out yesterday, Winnie the Pooh is not originally a Disney character. He was created by A. Milne, a British author.
And the first Winnie was a bear bought by a soldier, right? A Canadian soldier who named it Winnie after his hometown, Winnipeg.
The bear was left in England after World War I, and Milne's son saw it in London Zoo. He named his stuffed toy bear Winnie as a result.
Yes, and the author made up stories about the bear and his friends, including a boy, Christopher Robin, which was his son's name.
Indeed. Now, let's learn about Winnie the Pooh, how he got the Pooh in his name, and also how he became a Disney star. Let's check out day 2 of our article.
Reading. The Long Life of Winnie the Pooh. The origin of the Pooh part of Winnie the Pooh is unknown. It's likely, though, that the Milne family met some swans on vacation, one of which was called Pooh. Winnie then adopted that name, too. The setting for Winnie the Pooh's adventures is also based on a real place that A. Milne was fond of. Many of the story's place names are only slight changes to real place names in Ashdown Forest in East Sussex, England. Even the bridge where Christopher Robin plays the game of Pooh Sticks is a real bridge and is now a tourist attraction. In 1930, American businessman Stephen Schlesinger bought many trade rights for Winnie the Pooh for the U.S. and Canadian markets. This was the beginning of the modern licensing industry, and it made a fortune. Winnie the Pooh's famous red top first appeared under Schlesinger. Then, in 1966, Disney bought the ownership of Winnie the Pooh from both the Schlesinger and the Milne families. As you can see, Winnie the Pooh has had quite a history. But the character continues to appeal to the hearts of fans everywhere.
Finally, it's time to get to Pooh.
Get to the Pooh part.
Yes, we've been looking forward to the Pooh all the way through. Now we see in the article the origin of the Pooh part of Winnie the Pooh is unknown.
What? It's unknown?
It's an unknown Pooh. It's a mystery Pooh. That's what Pooh means. If something is unknown, it is not known. It's a mystery. No one knows it for sure. So, it's a mystery Pooh.
OK, 我们还不知道这个 Pooh 是哪边来的名字 It's unknown, 未知的这个形容词 And then the article says it's likely though that the Milne family met some swans on vacation, one of which was called Pooh.
Okay, so maybe they're saying it's likely. We don't know this for sure.
Right.
But there's a good chance that the Pooh part comes from a swan. So his name is Winnie the Swan.
Okay.
Winnipeg the Swan. I suppose it works.
今天的 Language in Focus 我们还讲到的是 likely 的用法。那 likely 做形容词的时候呢，代表的是可能为真的，可能发生的，就是 probable 的概念。那常见的句型是呢 It is likely that 后面加上主词以及一个动词，也就是名词子句哦。代表这个名词子句呢，它可能发生，可能为真。那 likely 还可以跟像是 very, more, less, most, least 或是 not 这些字来并用，表达可能性的高低。So for example, Mandy refuses to say sorry to Zoe, so it's very likely that their fight will continue. Mandy 拒绝跟 Zoe 道歉，所以呢，他们的争吵可能会持续下去。再来给同学们一个例句了。It is it isn't likely that we'll be able to travel internationally in the next few months. 接下来几个月之内呢，我们不太可能进行国际旅游。那你会发现这边的 not likely 可以改为 unlikely， 所以我们也可以说 it's unlikely that we'll be able to travel internationally in the next few months. 那再来呢，我们也可以把这个句型改写为主词出现之后 be 动词加上去，再接上 likely to 以及一个原形动词。像是呢，我们可以说 luckily, it's likely that the traffic problem will be solved. 也可以说成 luckily, the traffic problem is likely to be solved. 也就是很幸运的，这个交通问题可能很快就会被解决。
Okay, so we've got a swan whose name may have been Pooh. Okay, and the article says, Winnie then adopted that name too. Okay, so that's kind of the most well-known story. We're not 100% sure if it's true, but kind of that's what we're going with. And Winnie adopted the name Pooh. Now, of course, adopt can mean to start looking after a child or an animal that isn't yours to begin with, but here we're using adopt to mean accept and start using something new as your own, okay? Think of all the writers or singers who change their names when they become famous, just either to kind of keep a distance between their personal life and their sort of stage life. So you could adopt a stage name. You could adopt a writing name, a pen name. You have adopted an English name.
Oh, right.
You weren't born with that, but you've taken it and you are now Elsie. Okay, here's another example. McKinley Morganfield adopted the name Muddy Waters when he became a musician.
所以呢 adopt 这个动词在这边代表是采用、采取、采纳 adopt a name 那就是采用一个名字。那另外呢刚 Pat 也有提到的 adopt 这个动词还可以当作领养，像是 adopt a cat, a dog, or a child.
Okay, so that's the character and his story, but it's not the only place that Milne got some of his ideas from. He got some of them for the characters from the toys, but there's a bit more. We see in the article the setting for Winnie the Pooh's adventures is also based on a real place that A. Milne was fond of. The setting is the world in which the story takes place, the time period, where they are, what all the countryside is like. If you know these stories, they're called the 100-Acre Wood. So they all live in a big forest with rivers and other things around. And Winnie the Pooh had adventures there.
所以这个 setting 场景、背景、时间也是作者真正喜欢的一个地方。
Exactly. He loved nature and going outside, so he used that to make his stories and for the adventures of Winnie the Pooh. An adventure is an exciting experience that often involves travel. You kind of go from one place to another place. Adventures don't just stay at home. And often there's some danger, slightly dangerous situations. What's going on around there? How do we cross this big river? Can we get over the mountain? Should we go in that dark cave? All of these are adventures. For example, we could say this book tells about the adventures of 5 young friends during their summer vacation.
Adventure 这个名词就是冒险啦，那我们的动词搭配是 have 或是 go on an adventure 就去冒险。那一个喜欢冒险的人，我们可以用 adventurous 来形容他，把字尾的 e 拿掉，加上 ous 就可以了。那小熊维尼的冒险场景呢，也是根据我们作者喜欢的一个地方写成的。
And Milne based all these adventures on a place he was fond of. Fond has the meaning of liking something, feeling warm and happy towards it. You know, you associate that thing with good memories, with happy times. We usually use this adjective with of, fond of something, to be fond of something. If you are fond of something, you have a liking for that thing. You find it enjoyable. You want to do it. You think of it in a kind, nice way. You have good memories and good associations with it. For example, Freya is fond of taking walks through the older parts of the city. It's something she likes to do.
Fond 这个字要注意哦，它是一个形容词，代表喜欢点点点的。那我们前面必须要有一个 be 动词，再接上 fond of，再接上名词或者是 VING。 所以呢，我们可以说 I'm fond of you， 我好喜欢你啊 I'm fond of music， 或者是 I'm fond of doing something， 喜欢做某事。
That's right. And so he used the ideas of this place around him for his stories. We see in the article, many of the stories' place names are only slight changes to real place names in Ashdown Forest in East Sussex, England. So that's right down there on the southeast coast. It's part of England, very nice, got a big forest. And there's got lots of real place names, and he made slight changes to them. Slight means small changes, very mild, minor, a few words or letters here or there. Not big changes, you can still recognize them, but small changes, so they're not exact copies.
Slight 这个形容词呢，代表微小的、少量的、轻微的，所以呢 there are only slight changes， 也是小小的名字上面的更改改变。
And of course, it now works the other way. This place is now famous
because of the story.
Exactly. We see in the article, even the bridge where Christopher Robin plays the game of Pooh Sticks is a real bridge and is now a tourist attraction. So to explain, Pooh Sticks is a great game for kids and adults. All you need to do is you drop sticks off one side of the bridge at the same time,and you see whose stick goes under the bridge and comes out the other side first.
从桥的一边把那个棍子丢下去，然后看看哪个会先到旁边去，然后浮出来。
Exactly.
It's a fun game.
It's a very simple game. I played this hundreds of times walking around in like parks or forests or something like that when I was a kid.And
this bridge is now a tourist attraction.
That's right. A tourist attraction, of course, is a place where many tourists go. It's famous. Maybe there's a sign up there. It's the sort of place you would visit if you were visiting that area. Oh, we've got to go to that tourist spot. It's famous. We can take some pictures. We can play Pooh Sticks and so on.
也就是观光景点 tourist attraction， 我们也可以说 tourist spots。那 tourist 这个字呢，本身还可以指的是观光客。
Okay, so that's kind of all about A.A. Milne and the story and where Winnie the Pooh comes from. Now it's time to get him into his sort of modern Disney character, Winnie the Pooh. So we see in 1930, so that's not long after these stories started being published. In 1930, American businessman Stephen Schlesinger bought many trade rights for Winnie the Pooh for the US and Canadian markets.
这里的 trade 呢是个名词哦，代表的是营业、生意的意思。那后方的 rights 它是名词，代表版权。那在这样的定义之下呢，我们会做复数型使用。And then the article says this was the beginning of the modern licensing industry and it made a fortune.
Exactly. So all he's done is say, look, I'll pay you a bunch of money now, and that will mean I'm allowed to print these books and make these stories in the US and Canada. I'll do your business. I'll make money from selling them, but you get a load of money and maybe you get like 5% of sales or whatever the agreement is. This is a licensing agreement. And this really did start the whole idea of I'm going to sell you the rights to do this with my story in different places. Licensing is when someone has official permission to have or do or make or sell something from the original creator. Think of all the movies that are based on books. Someone has sold the licensing. The author gets money. Somebody else can make a movie, make some toys, make other stories about it, whatever the actual deal is.
所以卖版权这个动作 licensing 就是授权的意思，像企业或组织同意某个单位去使用某个标的物。
And this deal that Schlesinger made was great for him. We see in the article it made a fortune. A fortune here means a great deal of money. Lots and lots of money. A huge amount of wealth. For example, Bill Gates made a fortune from Microsoft computers.
Make a fortune 是赚一大笔钱，那从哪里赚一大笔钱？我们用 make a fortune from something.
Like make a fortune from selling this, from doing this, from painting this, whatever it happens to be. And this is when some changes start to be made because Schlesinger can do other things to Winnie the Pooh. He's got that legal right.
Oh, he can do anything he wants
Well,
with the character.
maybe some limits, but he's got some creative freedom. So I guess he got somebody else to do the illustrations for the books. And as a result, we see in the article, Winnie the Pooh's famous red top first appeared under Schlesinger.
Okay.
So the early stories, if you look at the really early pictures of A.A. Milne's, he doesn't wear clothes. Pooh doesn't wear anything. But look at the later ones under Schlesinger, he's got that red top that doesn't cover his tummy.
红色小小的上衣就在这个时候被创造出来。And the article says, then in 1966, Disney bought the ownership of Winnie the Pooh from both the Schlesinger and the Milne families.
Okay, so another 30-odd years pass, and Disney decides we're going to buy the whole thing. So again, Schlesinger and Milne families, they make a load of money selling this thing. They maybe get a percentage of future profits, but the ownership goes to Disney. Ownership is the official state of being the owner of something. You could talk about house ownership. Who is the owner of the house? Not who lives there, not who's renting it, maybe not the landlord, but the actual owner. The ownership of a company or a car or of anything. And here we mean the legal ownership. So it'll be recognized, there's a contract, it's in law, that kind of thing. For example, you could say, when the old man died, he left the ownership of his house and business to his only child.
Ownership 你会发现它的前半段是 owner 也就是主人拥有者这个名词，所以 ownership 代表的是所有权。
So the article finishes by saying, as you can see, Winnie the Pooh has had quite a history, but the character continues to appeal to the hearts of fans everywhere. When we say he's had quite a history, that means he's had a long history. A lot of things have happened. That's kind of an idiom there. We also saw the verb appeal. If something appeals to you, you like it. You want it. You think it's great. If it's a book, you go, oh, I'd like to read that. If a movie appeals to you, I want to see that movie. Here's another example. This music doesn't appeal to me. It's too fast.
Appeal 这个动词呢是吸引、引起兴趣 ，appeal to somebody 那就是吸引某人或是引起某人的兴趣。那这个东西呢，你可以用形容词 appealing 来形容它。
Yeah, and something can have an appeal, so could be a noun. And we often use appeal to with a particular group. This appeals to children. This appeals to children and adults. This appeals to the hearts of fans everywhere. So no matter whether it's the books, the Schlesinger books, the original ones, the movies and cartoons with Winnie the Pooh, his fans all love him. He's a big part of many people's childhoods, growing up with the stories and this big cuddly Winnie the Pooh toy. Well, that's the end of the article, so let's go to today's For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So the article asks, if you could create a character like Winnie the Pooh from things in your life, what would you create?
Oh, wow. I would maybe use my cat
Right.
as a new character. And I would make him a bossy, grumpy, and annoying character.
Okay, so...
not like Winnie the Pooh.
That's how your cat is bossy,
Yes.
grumpy, and annoying.
Right. And he'll be a prince
Okay.
of maybe Cat Kingdom.
The Prince of Cat Kingdom. I get whatever I want. I'm bossy, and if I don't
Right.
get my way, I'm going to be grumpy.
Yes, that's him.
Okay, are you in this story as well?
Oh, I will just be his servant.
Oh.
One of his servants.
One of his many servants.
Yeah.
Whatever he wants, he gets.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting an idea of you and your cat's relationship. Now, I suppose that I could create characters from my sons and have them do stuff, but I kind of want to keep distance. I don't want to use
You don't want to be in the story?
I don't want them to be in the stories, really.
Okay.
Maybe I will create separate stories just for them, but sometimes the other stuff I write about, I want to just have that distance between me and my family and what I write about. So I probably wouldn't use them, but I might take little pieces from all the different people I know and just take a little bit of that person's personality, a little bit of that person's appearance,
put them all together.
A little bit of what this person does in this situation, and mix them all together. That's kind of, otherwise people go, that's just you and your friends. That's you and your wife.
That's not appealing.
Or it's I don't want them to know everything about my personal life. So yeah, just a little here, a little there. I do write stories sometimes about Taiwan and the things here. So I do take a lot of inspiration and ideas from just this culture and living in it and some of the beliefs, the ways people are, that kind of thing. So just everything. I create characters and stories from everything, really. Okay, that's all the time we have. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Adopt. We weren't selling much tea at our shop, so we had to adopt new methods of finding customers. Adventure. Nick is traveling to South America next week, and he's excited about the adventure. Fond. Michael is very fond of butter cookies and eats them most days, even though he's trying to lose weight. Fortune. Jerry spent all his money opening a new cafe and lost a fortune when it failed. Ownership. The family-run store changed ownership when Mr. Smith sold it to a large company. Appeal. Lots of people enjoy Italian food, but it doesn't appeal very much to me.
智慧小补帖
Slight. Tourist attraction. Licensing.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net